Oh, 98 degrees. Oh, another hot day. I just got out of the shower. You know, I was going to add a little follow-up story to that little treehouse bit that I told about earlier. In that treehouse, my brother and I put up a rope swing. And as kids, all we could do is find scraps of rope and we tied them all together. So from the top part of the swing was probably about 15, 18 feet off the ground. And we'd swing all the way up and over. But because the rope came so close to the ground, we'd have to swing our legs up over our head and go down across the dirt with our head close to the ground. And we were doing that over and over and over again until my stepmother said, "Boys, it's time to go." And I said, "Just one more swing." One more swing. So I jumped a little bit higher and a little bit harder. And as I flipped my legs up over, I came down and the rope broke. And I slammed into the ground head first. Fortunately, my dad had just plowed the field, so it was probably about a foot of soft dirt. Knocked me out. I was unconscious for a little while, but I survived. Maybe that explains things. So we got this dead pear tree to cut down. It's been dead for a long time. There's big mushrooms growing off the base of it. So this tree got some big conchs on the base. There's a Ganoderma applanatum. There's another one over there. So there's considerable amount of decay through here. So climbing this tree is really not a good idea. So we started with some of the lower branches first, threw a rope over a high spot, and then we used a running knot, like a running bowline, to pull it up. And then I was using the chainsaw on the pole while Jorge was managing the rope. And this particular branch, he had to give a little bit of a pull with the pole saw to keep it from hitting the railing. Now, I want to emphasize that this is a very, very dangerous tree. It's dead, it's rotten at the base, it's got root rot, and as I was shaking the tree here, the base was moving. Look at the base of the tree.
Moving a little bit, right? Yeah.
It's moving a lot. So if we can't climb the tree, we've got to think of alternative ways of working around it with the ladders. And we had this overhang that I was able to get up on. It was an awkward overhang because I had to step on just those main pieces there. I got it down safely, but it took about 4 hours to get this down because I couldn't do it quickly. And here's the base of the tree. Look at the decay from this Ganoderma conch, also called an artist's conch. You don't see sycamore branches break too often. Actually, this is it's a plane tree. It's a California native tree. And it appears that there was a wound right there from a cut from a long time ago that led to some long-term decay. There's where it broke. It's hanging out clear over the road. Decay spread all the way down into here. This is all punky wood, all the way through the center. This happened in the summertime, so we can refer to this as summer limb drop associated with a decay pocket. Lucky nobody was underneath it when it fell. Albizia, also called the silk tree. Some people call it mimosa. It's a pretty tree. It's a tropical tree. Unfortunately, this one has got some problems. And the client said he's not sure whether we should remove it or cut it back hard or something, but it lost a big limb here. And if you look all the way around, you can see it's got significant areas of decay and weakness. Everywhere you look, there's a spot where there's looks like a woodpecker hole, and oh yeah, lots and lots of old wounds and drying out, and so we're gonna have to do something, unfortunately, kind of dramatic. Now there's an interesting shot. There's a hole here, and I can feel the dirt in there, so the trunk is very likely to be hollow. There's more of a rotten spot, more dead wood. He's got this glass building here, and he's got a type of roof that you're not supposed to walk on. So there's another rotten spot. There's a rotten spot. So my problem is, how do I take this somewhat attractive tree and make it okay? So since the guy had this limb failure, that happened in the summertime, by the way, that was just a few weeks ago, he's quite concerned about any of these branches breaking and falling on, principally his glass room here, as well as his roof. So he said he's prepared to remove the tree, but he'd like to keep it if possible. So I said, okay, we're going to cut the heck out of this thing and see if we can keep it safe enough. So that's a tough call here. Safe enough, but also aesthetically pleasing. It's got to look okay. Oh, look at that. There's a split limb right there. I don't know how well you can see that. That's bad. Such a sad tree. Kind of an ugly tree, but it's still alive. Barely. Look at how decayed it is. Look at how gnarly and beautiful it is. And it still produces plums. Matter of fact, it produced an abundant crop of plums this year. And they were delicious. A lot of people would say, cut it down. But it's been like this for 10 years, and it still survives. I say, if you have an old fruit tree that still produces fruit, let it go until it succumbs. And as I said, this tree has a lot of decay. It has a lot of problems. The big however is, this man is 89 years old. He's lived in this house for 40 or 50 years. His wife passed away last year. This tree has got sentimental value to him. And, at his age, if I would have removed the tree and he had to start over, he wouldn't live long enough to see anything. So take your client's age into consideration when making decisions. That was kind of cool. I went out to the truck and I saw across the street there was some guys doing a removal across the way here. So I shot a little bit of video here. I hope there's nothing underneath those tops, but the guy looks like he's doing a pretty good job. All right, back to my tree, the albizia. There's a spot where it had split, so I made the decision to cut this whole section of the tree out, but I wanted to leave some of the foliage down here. And this is getting closer to what it looks like when it's done. I still had some branches on the far side that I had to take off, but you can see the tree is significantly lighter, but presentable. Oh, check this out. A baby praying mantis. If you're aware and you pay attention, you see these little things in the yards. And I think this is just amazing. Check this little guy out. So I planted this crepe myrtle here about 10 years ago. The client said to me they wanted a shade tree here that would grow up, but not too big, and they wanted some color, so I recommended the crepe myrtle. They already had one already. And I said, no, never trim it, just let it grow tall. Well, sadly, the gardeners came along and rounded this thing over, and now, instead of being a tall, beautiful tree, it's still pretty, but it's a bush. And you can see where they went chop, 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 chop. Now, I often take pictures of the brush pile of how much we took out of it. This is all from that albizia. So we took a significant amount out of the tree. This is kind of cool. This is an olive tree that was actually transplanted from an olive orchard. A lot of the houses around here have olive trees. And what they did was when they built the houses back in the 70s, they plopped an olive tree in front of everybody's house that they transplanted from an orchard. But this is really cool. This branch is almost entirely dead. It had one tiny little bit of life left on it that came up and is attached to this, but the limb is dead. It goes all the way up, and you can see where it's completely died back. But this little tiny bit of life here is what's sustaining all that brush. These are real survivors. So if you come to this channel, you're going to find out that you never know what you're going to get. It's always about trees and tree care, or maybe a little bit about working with the wood that I cut down. But I try to break it up in such a way that it's diverse and it's unique. And I'm always looking for teaching moments. I mean, I'm old now. I'm 70 years old. I've been at it a long time. This is my 50th year in business. And, it's time for me to give back. And I know there's a lot of young people out there that want to get into this business, or maybe just want to learn about trees. And if I can impart some of my years of knowledge through this video channel, then I'm happy. I mean, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm not doing this for any kind of recognition or fame or anything. I'm doing it because I've got a background of 50 years working on trees. And in the last 15 years, since I've really gotten into the video part of it, I'm always aware. I'm always paying attention. I'm looking for the details, all the little things, the things that you might miss. And on these particular videos that I just showed you, they weren't huge trees, but they were unique individual trees that had specific issues. And I always want you to remember, pay attention to who your client is. In the case of the albizia there, my client was quite old. He didn't have that many more years to enjoy his tree. Now, if I would have gone through and pollarded the tree or got rid of the tree or done something drastic, he wouldn't have been very happy. So make your decisions wisely, but think about your clients. Now, if it was a young couple in that house, that might be a whole different decision. I would have said, this tree is too far gone. Let's start over so you can watch a young tree evolve and turn into something nice. So the decisions that we make are multifaceted. It's not always right and wrong. There's a lot of shades of gray in there. And safety. With that dead tree, that could have been really, really bad. Now, had I gotten up there and climbed the tree and got started and it went crack, I could have fallen down with the tree and hurt myself or even gotten killed. So pay attention. Look at the base of the trees before you get started. Always consider the possibilities. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't get in there and just say, I'm going to get right to work. Pay attention. Slow down and look around. Thanks for watching. If you're not a subscriber, please do so and hit the like button, hit that little bell if you want to get notified of the next video, and you know the routine. Thank you.